everybody. This is your host, Jon Toker from Toronto Auto Consulting. Today, we'll be hosting our first episode of Car Biz Insider. And I have a great guest today with me here today, Brian Kramer from Germain Toyota of Naples. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate it in your busy schedule. You joined our first show. So why don't we just jump right in? I know you have a very busy schedule. So I'll put you in the spotlight. You can talk about yourself a little bit. Then I can bombard you with my questions.
That's perfect. So my name is Brian Kramer. I'm the manager of a couple of car dealerships, the Germain Toyota of Naples, Lincoln of Naples down in Naples, Florida, which is beautiful today. It's in the low 70s and sunny out, and we're blessed to be working where we're working.
That's amazing, man. In Ontario, we've been getting the snowstorms like 3 days in a row. So we get that 50 centimeters first, then we get that 20 centimeters, and right now it's like minus 15 Celsius outside. So I don't know what's that in Fahrenheit, but it is pretty rough.
No, but it's gorgeous in the spring and the fall.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like we don't get that crazy hot. I mean, actually, last summer was pretty bad too here. Like we got really high temperatures, but you're right. Spring and summer, it's pretty good. My brother was actually there 2 weeks ago. Was vacationing in Naples, and he said it's just absolute gorgeous place. So you're a lucky guy to be there, and it's pretty good.
It's not as pretty in the summertime when you got the swamp and the Everglades about 5 miles that way. Middle of July it gets pretty sweltering, but everything's got pluses and minuses, right? Just like the used car business.
Exactly, exactly, man. In terms of, are you from Naples originally, like Florida, or did you born and grow up there? Or
no, I'm from the south side of Chicago.
Oh, so you're almost Canadian,
right? And then I grew up or I went to high school in Columbus, Ohio, and started my career out there with the Germains, and spent a lot of time in Columbus, Ohio. I went to graduate from high school there, obviously, and but I didn't come down here until 2000. Well, I went to Tampa with AutoNation in 2011. Okay. And then moved around to a few different stores, and then came back to Germain's in 2016 at the Toyota store.
Wow. And just in terms of your Toyota, I was looking at that, the Toyota there. In actually Florida, there's a thing called the Southeastern Distributors. So it's kind of separate than the Toyota USA itself. Like in Canada, we have Toyota Canada, right? And they distribute the cars. But in Florida, it's slightly different, right?
Yeah, so Southeast Toyota, well, you got Southeast Toyota, you got Gulf States Toyota, then you have Toyota North America. And Southeast Toyota is, I like to equate it to Division I college football or the NFL. When it comes to that, they're highly aggressive. They like to win. They even though it's just I think it's 6 states, they do 25% of the Toyota business in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And the throughput is very strong, and it's a very competitive environment and a lot of pressure, which makes them great. They're great for the dealers. They provide their expectations are extremely high, but so is their level of support.
Wow, that's amazing. And just for the record, your store in average month, how many new cars do you guys sell?
Well, here as of late, it's been however many cars we can get allocated.
Exactly, right?
But last year, it was, 2 years ago, it was just under 6,000
a year. Nice. Wow.
And then last year it fell off a little bit. It was closer to, it was just under 5,000.
Under 5,000. Wow, that's like province of. No, I'm kidding. We sell more cars than that here, but wow, that's amazing. And used cars, you guys really stepped up the game, because a couple of months ago, I don't know if you remember, I reached out on Clubhouse and asked you, like, how's your look to book? How many cars do you guys appraise? And you said you guys used to appraise like 200 cars a month. Now you took it up to like how many now? Appraisals?
About 1,100.
Wow, that's amazing. And what was your look to book? Like total 38%, you said?
Yes. So we're getting away from look to book. I was actually at dinner last night with a few people talking about that. It's more about how many trades can we win, because what we've found here as of late is obviously the wholesale game is changing. And by maximizing the acquisition side, even if we wholesale more cars, actually when we wholesale more cars, we're making more money in wholesale, but we're also making more money in retail, just from our choice of acquisition. So we're now, and obviously the business changes and the world changes, but the way that we're looking at it right now is the PVRs, or the, price to market and all those things, is dictated by the quality of the vehicles you can source, not necessarily, what the market's doing. If, we bought a 2013 FJ Cruiser yesterday, 4-wheel drive, white, with 37,000 miles.
Wow.
So there's no competitive set for that car. So what's it worth, right? I mean, there was one with 10 miles that just went through Manheim for 80, or was it bring a trailer for 82 grand.
Wow. That's amazing, man. I remember back in the days when I was working in a Toyota dealership as a used car manager. That was back in 2013. I used to buy those FJ Cruisers, like the older ones, like 08, 09s with 300,000 kilometers on them, and call my wholesaler, and it was shipping them to Middle East. And I was getting crazy money for it. And the dealers didn't know that. So I was like scooping all the cars. I gave them like 5-6 grand. I turn around, sell for 12, 13,000. I was making some wholesale gross for myself. It was pretty good, right? And
kind of like the rental car business right now.
Yeah. How's that rental car business? Are you guys do you guys, in terms of giving them a fleet car, like, do you sell them new cars? Like, did you have contracts in the past with the rental car companies?
We did in 2016, but after that we became sales efficient, and we didn't have enough cars in order to do that. So, and obviously it wasn't very profitable. That's changed right now with used cars. So we started our own rental car agency here at the dealership with Southeast Toyota's help. They kind of guided us, told us how to set it up. So now we've got, I think, 140 cars in that fleet. It ranges, goes a little bit less, a little bit more. But these cars were ordered a couple of years ago, but the cars coming out of that fleet service now are obviously very profitable.
That's really good. So, like, if I come down for a vacation in Naples, and if I can't find a rental car at the airport, I can come rent one from you, right?
Yes, 100%. We do it all the time.
Would you give me a good deal because I'm car business?
Yeah.
Nice.
We give
That's
everybody
good,
a good
man.
deal.
I'm joking anyways. You're a good guy. You'll help me out. I know for sure. That's good. So I had a couple questions I prepared. I mean, and you know what? I don't want to ask you like difficult questions. There's no point doing that.
Bring it, man. I'm all in.
That's good. One question I'm really curious to know is, we were doing business differently before COVID-19 hit. We had the up bus show up on Saturday. We sell 50 cars. We call high five each other and all whole 9 yards. And then the COVID came in and people scared to go to dealerships and lockdowns happened. I don't know exactly how did you guys handle it in Florida, but in Ontario, we actually shut down our dealerships and didn't allow people to go in unless you have an appointment, right? So that changed the scene a lot. How did you guys change the way you guys do business post COVID-19? Is there anything changed specifically and made you profitable or made things a little bit difficult? Anything that you like to share about that?
Yeah, I mean, our entire business model basically, but as soon as that happened, sat down with Wendell Hardy, who's our GSM, and our whole management team, and we said, how are we going to attack this? What are we going to do to approach this? And we had the same issues down here. We were working kind of every other week. Most of the staff, but a lot of the management team volunteered to just work through it because we were retooling, and we were going to said that's the chance to reinvent ourselves. So we changed our marketing slogan. We stopped advertising pricing, and I noticed one of the questions on here: how does the local competition affect your pricing? Back then, it used to affect us significantly, but anymore, when we changed our branding after COVID-19, we don't worry as much about what everybody else is doing. We just worry about our customers. We worry about sourcing the best cars, and what can we do to make sure that we're acquiring the best selection of cars that nobody else can offer, which I think is a lot of what CarMax does and Carvana does. They don't really bid up or bid at all on the proxies when it comes to bad Carfax cars, high mileage, late model. They cherry pick all the stuff, and then they let everybody else fight at the auction over all the less desirable cars because they didn't win it at the curb. So we'd rather win it at the curb so that we're not dealing with that. When we stop advertising payments as low as, discounts as much as, and all the other things that go along with that, and kept on trying to go into a race to the bottom with an algorithm to see if we could be, which I did it for decades, right? Can I be $10 less than this dealer? How can I improve my real estate listing on this third-party site and this third-party site? When we just started worrying about our business, our associates, how we're going to take care of the customers and how we're going to market to all that stuff, it got more profitable. The Sales associates made more money, managers made more money, but most importantly, it was more effortless and less friction. Now it was a lot, it's a much longer story on how it got to that, but we also had to, customers didn't want to come in, so we decided we were just going to go to them, and we empowered the salespeople to, appraise cars on an iPad so that they could do 80% of it. At the beginning, they were FaceTiming the used car manager, the GSM, and then shortly thereafter, we partnered with AccuTrade. They could then pop up an instant cash offer, like KBB, but it was immediate. Wow. And then we had to honor it.
So you're sending your salespeople to people's driveway basically to appraise the cars and bring the car that the prospective car that they're going to sell. Let customer look at that car at that time, and you're on the spot. You're utilizing FaceTime and iPad to communicate with the store to put a number on that particular vehicle, so the customer doesn't have to come into the showroom. Were they like? Can they finalize the sale at that moment? Like, is there can you do a bill of sale right on the spot, get them sign it, go through that credit app, sell the business office products? Was that the capability, or?
It's a good question. Yes. So they can do all that. They can't do so they can sign the menu, get the driver's license upload. Customer can upload it, even if they're not there, if they're coming in for an appointment, insurance card, STIPs, all those sorts of things. In terms of the actual legal documents, the bill of sale, the purchase order, finance contract, they can, get the credit application, then communicate with the finance manager. So there's a different iPad with Darwin that the F&I managers use. In the event that happens, which is rare, because typically once we go out to them and facilitate that type of transaction, or at least the appraisal, the customer's guard goes down. And they said, okay, now you got not just digital trust, you've got real trust. And they said, well, here, we'll sign the menu. We'll give you all the documentation. And then let's set up an appointment later on today. We'll just come into the dealership. We can do everything there. Because they realize that we're going to do what we say we're going to do. And then the behavior of the customer completely changes, because I think most of the time they're waiting for the shoe to drop, that something's going to change, that we're not going to do what we said we're going to do. And I think that's what causes customers to be defensive. When you trust them first, then they'll trust you. We expect them to trust us without trusting them. And I think that's where I went wrong for the beginning of my career.
That's really nice to hear that kind of experience that you're creating for your customers, because you're absolutely right. Once that guard is down, they build that kind of rapport with you, then things become a lot easier. In terms of deliveries, do you deliver the cars to their location with a truck or something like that at all, or people pick up from the dealership?
It's whatever's best for the customer. So we do combinations of everything in between. And we had a deal, was it last week, that we delivered up north? I forget where, somewhere in the Midwest. The spouse was on vacation in Europe, so we texted the electronic documents to the spouse. They signed up, everything they needed to do securely with an attestation trail. The other spouse was down here, snowbird, physically signed the other half of the paperwork or the documents, because there's no paper. And then we shipped the vehicle, I forget, to whatever the house is up north. So there's no rhyme or reason to it, even if they're here local. If they want us to bring the car to them, we will. We do a lot of that. It's there's no rhyme or reason to it. We just ask the customer what they prefer.
So you mean up north? You mean out of state of Florida? Like you can take it to Michigan or like different states?
Oh yeah, we ship all over the country. We ship them to Alaska, anywhere.
Wow.
I mean, we get, we're fortunate that we get, Naples. A lot of people in Naples, it's kind of a little bubble down here. They don't really travel outside of, might go to Miami or might go to Tampa, but it's not like a major metro where you're commuting a lot. So the cars are much nicer. The roads are really well kept. So they're typically in better condition, and they're typically in lower miles because it's such a small, there's only 22,000 population in this town. So there's not people going, long distances. And if they do, we rent cars so they don't have to put the miles on their car. But
nice.
But we typically see, people only spend half the year here. A lot of really desire, like a 13 FJ Cruiser with 30,000 miles. You don't see those everywhere. So people will travel from all over the United States. Either we'll, reimburse them for their airfare. We'll put them up for a night in a hotel, or it's worst places to stay if they want to drive back. But in most cases, the customer just arranges, we send them a contact information for a transport company. They pay for the transport and we'll ship it wherever. We give them the option. If they want to come here, we'll ship it there. There's obviously a process for identity and, bill of lading and all those sorts of things for out-of-state tax exemptions. But no, we'll do whatever the customer wants to do. We'll find a way to do it as long as it's legal, compliant, and simple.
Yeah, you got to do your due diligence. You know what report I would love to see from the manufacturer? Your pump in, pump out report. Like, how does it look like? Like, which states are you pumping in? And that would be really funny to see your pump in, pump out report from the manufacturer.
Well, so it's more on used. In terms of new cars, we do get some of that, from up north and down below. It hurts us if they don't service within 12 months because they're spending a few extra months up north versus coming down here. But when it comes to used cars, it's completely decentralized.
Wow, that's amazing, man. The other question I have is, you talk about the metaverse of Facebook, like, and you're looking to like utilize that in sales. Would you like to explain a little bit more about it? Because I want to know. So the idea would be like you want to digitize this experience for people with the VR and stuff like that. What's the game plan on that, and how soon?
So I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of really smart millennials.
Yeah.
So Ryan Weeben's our new car director. He's reverse mentored me on this metaverse thing because he's very well read on it and allowed me to lock up a bunch of .eth domains that I normally wouldn't have even known how to get through Coinbase wallet. But in talking to him and now trying to get outside of the industry to figure out what other people are doing, Walmart's doing, and how are other people trying to lock this down and what are their plans for it. The simplest way, because that's like a 8-hour conversation. The simplest way to say it is it's just the version 3 of the internet, right? It's a 3-dimensional internet, and Domino's is right now the best case study. You can go into a Domino's in the metaverse and Decentraland or something like that, and you can walk into a Domino's, you can order a pizza, and it will physically show up at your house, even though you ordered it in the metaverse. And as Michael Cirillo was telling me the other day, there was something else, I think he called it Half-Life. And he said that Pizza Hut was doing that years ago, but it just wasn't mainstream. And I don't think this is mainstream either, but neither was the internet back in the late 90s. I remember them saying, we have to have an internet, we have to have a computer. So if you hear AOL and it says you've got mail, make sure you run over there and check the thing and, then print it and then call the customer. And that's how we responded to internet leads back then. And I think that's kind of, the metaverse is just another way to submit a lead in the future, but it's not going to be the only way. I know Zuckerberg says it's going to be. Maybe it is, but I think it's just going to be, you've got chat, you got internet, as internet transitions over and 5G and 6G come out, I think that's just going to be the next evolution of the internet. It's going to be more 3-dimensional. It's not going to be, I remember in the late 90s, what's his name? Eric, whoever the guys that ran Google. Before that, he ran Sun Microsystems, and he said yellow pages are going away, and all the transactions by 2000 are going to happen on the internet. And they're saying that now by 2025, that's what it's going to be like for the metaverse. I just think it's the next evolution of the internet. And it's one of those things that people that were internet only in the early 2000s, it was probably premature. But if you're not, you got to have one foot in the future and one foot in the present, because if you just have one foot in the present, you're at some point when that overlap happens, you're going to be overpaying for marketing. People that are paying for newspaper currently are overpaying for it versus the ROI. And if they aren't looking at the metaverse, you can underpay for it right now with domains and mana and real estate and making sure that you have placement in there. Or you're going to end up overpaying later when it's too late, when you're trying to play catch up.
You're going to build a dealership there in Metaverse? Like Germain Toyota of Naples will be there too? Like, can I walk in there, Are you going to build a showroom? You're going to put cars, make sure they're good merchandise, everything?
So I was talking to John Germain and I was talking to Jared Kilway, who, with our organization, they're developing right now a auto mall with all the franchises. So you'd walk in and you can, shop around for any maker model, and you know, if you have the gloves or whatever, it's tactile. You'll be able to get into the cars and take a look at them like a virtual showroom without actually physically going into the showroom. But it's a complex web of, there's no regulations, there's no pricing from the OEM rules in the metaverse right now. I mean, we're trying to figure out if somebody submits a lead, where does it go? Does it go to the CRM? Does it go in a chat tool? Can you backlink all of our technology into that? Can we do a paperless transaction in the metaverse? So storyboarding that while trying to keep doing our day job is, it's always a challenge.
Did Facebook trying to reach you out and have some sort of special partnership with you to help you out, a pilot project with you at all, or like nothing? Because I know Brian Benstock in New York, right? He runs that #1 Honda dealership in the world, and back in the days, he went to the Google and they have a partnership. Google really helped him out in terms of the appointments, the voice, all that stuff. So they had a pilot program for him and he really embraced it. I thought maybe because you're embracing this metaverse with Facebook, I thought they would come to you and say, okay, Brian, we'll give you a hand with that. Let's pilot project and test it. Anything at all? Or
no, they've got, H&M has a store in there. Walmart's about to open up a store, but I think it's really in the beginning stages of it. And even if they did, we don't have the infrastructure to be able to connect it. We're just now reaching out to developers that build those buildings to figure out what the cost would be. What's the cost for the real estate in Decentraland, and what's the cost for building the showroom, and how much space do you need to build in order to fit that many cars in there, and just trying to understand the virtual logistics of it. We're just in the beginning phases. So even if they did, I don't know that, and I don't know if they have the bandwidth. I think this thing can be so explosive that we're going to be trying to keep up with them. And I don't know they'll have the bandwidth to be able to pull us along with them. I think it's just an extremely innovative time, and it's kind of uncharted, and nobody really knows where it's going. It's exciting as hell.
Wow, like it's amazing that you guys are like, I think this is in the early stages, but it's amazing that you guys are talking about this so early like that, and that's pretty good. Let's see where that takes. Maybe I'll do my consulting business on the Metaverse to show up there virtually.
Why wouldn't you?
That would be amazing, eh? I'll show up
the brick and mortar. I mean, if you think about it, Kroger right now is trying to be the #2 grocery store in Florida without having a grocery store. And I was just up in Orlando, and I saw Kroger delivery trucks, and they're all over the place, but they have like ghost kitchen grocery stores. So they're not using brick and mortar. They're going completely virtual, like Instacart.
Oh yeah, we have that too. So like I book for like, let's say 11 a.m. to pick up my stuff. I show up to the grocery store with my car so they can load it to my car. And I wait another 35-40 minutes. So not a good experience.
No, that's poor execution. That's the fear of everybody in this metaverse, that if you try to advertise it before you're ready for it.
Yeah. But that's okay. I mean, yeah, we got COVID stuff and they're short staffed. I understand. But well, the other question I have in my mind, I don't want to keep you longer here with thinking about trying to keep it under 30 minutes because you're a busy guy running multiple stores and what do you think about outside people like in car business, like vendors, consultants, gurus, experts? I see a lot of comments on LinkedIn and different various places about the dealership should be doing their business this way. Why don't they do this way? Without understanding the daily challenges of an operator. Because before I become a consultant, I worked in car business 10 years, right? I understand exact daily challenges. So when I consult with my clients, I don't say crazy things to them because I know their challenges, right? And I, by no means, I always tell them, like, I don't know better than you are. My job is I'm less distracted than you are because my job is to consult. But I see a lot of experts and vendors and marketing people making these bad comments about, oh, dealers should what do you think about that? Do you think that's a fair statement they make it about judging you without even sitting in your chair?
Yeah. I mean, they can only, as I've gone through my whole career, I've looked at the world the same way, and until I've understood from their perspective, and every time that I get a different job or a different market or whatever, I look at things differently, and I remember, talking to a mentor years ago, and I said, how can this be? And why are we doing this? And he said, from the perspective you're looking at that, that's all you're going to see. And he goes, but like if we're sitting on the beach and I walk up a mountain and I can see over here, there's something else over here. And I just have a wide vision because I've made more mistakes. Then I'm going to look at it differently than you are. And I can't expect you to look at it from my perspective or vice versa. And I don't look at any of this, when there's people that post any negative things, some of them have valid points. Maybe some of them don't, but it's also, there's people that look at stuff as half full. They look at the glass as half empty. I just want to talk about the benefits of ice and how we can sell the glass of water. I mean, it's and not worry about all that other stuff. And some people are going to get, but that's really what stifles innovation. It's what stifles so many dealerships from being able to, think about how much more profitable could it be if we wholesale more cars, or what if there is a better way, or, there's so many egos in this business, obviously. And nobody wants to admit that anybody does anything better than them. And I spent a decade traveling from dealership to dealership, dragging my poor wife along with me. Every city we went to, we had to go visit dealerships, the best around the world, Park Places, the Sewells, Fletcher Jones, and all these other amazing dealerships all over the country. And she's like, oh my God, I'll just wait in the car. And because I wanted to, and I would just go in and people would, like Bernie Marino would just tell me how they ran their business. And they were an open book. And I learned a ton. And it was amazing. All you have to do is just ask. And they would share it all and then actually take it instead of to poke holes in it. And then, because there's a lot of people that will just ask questions just to walk you into a bear trap, which is fine. But if you really seek to understand, then to respond, I think that's the key. And a lot of people that say those things, there's negative points, and their situation might be different because of the management structure or their level of empowerment or their level of trust with themselves, their team, who they work for. There's so many different factors that I can't relate to, or I wouldn't want to, because I wouldn't want to look at the world that way. But that's what makes if everybody did what they were supposed to do, then it wouldn't be competitive and it wouldn't be as exciting.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think my message to those people would be like, be a little bit more forgiving. And I think dealerships have a lot of challenges in daily basis. So that's why they do some stuff sometimes, and they may not make sense, but they're not doing that in a bad faith. I don't believe that, because I worked in the industry, like still working in it, and I have a lot of dealer friends, and none of these people are bad people or trying to rip people off or anything like that at all. Like that was back in maybe 50s or 60s, right? Back in those days. But now in a modern dealership, like a gentleman like yourself, I don't think you have any kind of bad faith to do any kind of bad to any customer. Like your job is to make profit. Nothing wrong with that. Like in every enterprise, right? Like you got to make money. Nothing wrong with that. But these, I think those people, the third parties, should be a little bit more forgiving and trying to have a little bit more friendly approach to the dealers, so all of us can evolve the business, I believe, right? Because they have a good point too, but they got to take it a little bit easier, I think. That's my 2 cents.
I think that, and I still have a lot to learn. I'm learning more every day. I was picking 5 of the smartest people I could find, their brains last night about the used car business. Where's it going? What's next? And, I heard that they were over on the other coast. So I drove over there last night and had dinner with them because I wanted to see from their perspective, what they were seeing, and I got all kinds of great ideas out of that conversation. But I also think that I've had amazing mentors, and a lot of the people that are making, negative comments or whatever haven't had anybody to help them the way that people help me. And that's not necessarily their fault. It's just a lack of understanding.
Perfect, man. Well, we're in that 30-minute mark. I really appreciate you coming in today in the first episode. So I'm planning to do these weekly. Hopefully sometime down the road we can have again with you, because like Brian, I really respect you. And I've been following you for a while on LinkedIn now, and I was, sometimes asking you questions, commenting in your stuff. Hopefully we can do this again. And I know you're busy. I don't want to take more of your time. Anything that you would like to say, anything, any advice, anything at all? I'll put you in the spotlight.
I would like to answer one of these questions that Xavier asked. What's your take on doing used car leases? And like everything else that anybody says, I don't know that there's a right answer or even what the right answer is, but I know this. I know what what we stand for at this location and what we don't stand for, which is a very difficult thing to do. My managers remind me of it all the time. Our slogan is simple, fast, and easy. And if it's not simple, if it doesn't make our process simpler, if it doesn't make it easier for the customers and for the associates, and it doesn't make it faster, even if there's more profit to be had, which there is, then we say no to it. And it's kind of like the Apple philosophy. They could make a lot more phones, and they almost made washers and dryers. And there's all these things that, appliances, that they TVs that they could make, that they choose not to, because they want to put tremendous energy behind the few products that you can put all the products on a table, and they generate more gross domestic product than Texaco oil. And you can put everything on a conference room table, but they say no to, Steve Jobs used to say, I'm more proud of all the ideas we say no to than the ones that we say yes to, because it allows us to put tremendous energy behind the few that we do choose. So there probably is, I did used car leases back in the day, but it's more complicated and it's not simple to integrate all of that into our existing technology. So it's one of those things that, as tempting as it is, we say no to because it doesn't fit into our goal, our mission, our vision. And it's very hard to stay that disciplined when you can, because you get vendors that say, oh, look at this, it can make you another $100,000 a month. All right. But what does that attention and that energy, by focusing on that, cost us in our primary business and the distraction? So it's extremely hard to keep a team focused. And there's some people that are wildly successful at it. It's just not within our core principles.
I think a lot of people are really successful in that is the people who are going after the subprime business with high interest rates. They lease the car out, and if the person doesn't make the payment, so they can take the car back easier, kind of thing. I think that's like lease to own kind of programs. I find personally successful. The regular kind of person doesn't really make a lot of sense in a lot of cases. Sometimes it do, but you're absolutely right. You got to look at the value proposition, the return on investment. So I put X amount of effort into it. How much I get out of it? That's the question.
We would have to have another rooftop here because it would create confusion.
Yeah.
And obviously the mother of all, in my perspective, trust and clarity drive any organization. So if there was another entity that we had, if we bought a lot down the street and just did that and did subprime, it'd be fine. But having them in the same dimension, so you got one salesperson that tries to architect it like that, or an F&I manager that says, here, let me do this, and they get confused, everything slows down, indecision increases, and clarity evaporates. And I think that if you're going to do that, you got to have another a separate brand that's a separate experience, that's the sidebar from your, if you're simple, fast, and easy, everything has to be simple, fast, and easy. Service, parts, sales, new, used, F&I, virtual, on, in person, over the phone. It's got to be just that. It's extremely difficult to execute.
So the final question I have for you: are you guys hiring for any positions in your dealerships? Like, because you seem like a great mentor to work for. So whoever's watching this, are you hiring? So people should apply, come work for you. Looking for people?
Of course, we're always looking for the right people. And even if it's not immediate,
people. What are you looking for? Like lot people? Anybody specific?
All of the above. Now, our management team are promoted from within. I'd say probably 90%, if not more, because we indoctrinate them into the culture. And we've got, Wendell, our GSM, was the dealer principal, GM. I'm fortunate that most of our people are overqualified for what they're doing, but they're helping us build something amazing.
Nice. So people watching this, go apply for a job if you're in the Florida area, or you're looking to move into that area. Brian is hiring. Great mentor. You can improve yourself. Amazing, man.
John Guffman, come down to Florida. I'll be up there in Ohio next week to see you.
Perfect, man. You know what? It's amazing. Hope we can do this again sometime, maybe in the summer or springtime again. And in meanwhile, I think it was a very a productive meeting today, like the podcast, and very informative. And really appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you.
All
Stay
the
warm,
best.
John.
Hope you sell lots of cars.
I think we're fortunate. We got a great team. We're in the right place. So next time that you're down here, John, you got to stop by the store.
I will do that, man. And you give me a rental car. I want a Yaris. Do you have the Toyota Yaris you're renting out? That's my favorite car.
So I don't have a Yaris. I go with more equipped vehicles, which is not normally for the rental cars. We've got really well-equipped cars because I look at it like ordering used cars. It's like a used car factory. So we're going to get you something a lot nicer.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much. Okay.
I'll see you.
Have a good one. Take care.